Good evening. Yesterday, I went to see Joker, Folie, deux. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong. That would be devastating, wouldn't it? I posted a little just watched yesterday, but this is a movie I've been anticipating for a long time. I'm a big fan of the first one, and I've been looking forward to this one since we found out it was going to happen. So I decided today I'm going to do a full-on spoiler review, like I did a month back or so for Beetlejuice 2. But I have some more opinions on this film than that one. So, roll the poorly made intro, and I will give you my review. So, first of all, I'll give you my a quick little spoiler-free my thoughts on it, because I did the just watched, but I know a lot of people want to see a little bit more than that, those rough thoughts, but they maybe haven't seen the movie yet and they don't want to get spoiled. So I'll give you my thoughts. People have been clowning on it. It's not as bad as they're saying it is, though. It's not on par with the first one. It's not even close to it. I think it's a mixed bag, really. I feel a little bit indifferent to it. On one hand, there are some bits that really work for me, as with most movies, but there was some pacing issues I found. Sort of lost its flow a few times. There were some strange decisions made throughout the film, certainly. It's not awful. I like that it doesn't sort of like it doesn't really make the first one any worse. I can still rewatch that first one and really enjoy it. So I would say it's an alright movie. If I were to give you a recommendation, I would say don't go to the cinema unless you're like a die-hard fan of the Joker or Batman or whatever, which you've probably already seen it then. But I would just wait and watch it when we inevitably get it on the TV. So yeah, that's my spoiler-free thoughts, and now I'm gonna give you my positive thoughts, spoiler-filled. So, my first positive would be it's been the courtroom moments. Not all of it. I do have some issues with it, which I'll get to in the negatives, but I think it's better than the prison stuff that we get earlier on in the movie. So there are a few slow moments throughout the prison bits, but the courtroom bits, I think, step it up a notch. Where I quite enjoy some of the little cameos and stuff we get. We get Gary, I think his name is, the little man from the first one, and the woman, I've forgotten her name, the woman that he fantasized about in the original. Yeah. The explosion chase scene at the end with the courthouse, I thought that was quite good. You had that weird, like, uncanny version of the Joker, or like someone who's dressed up as what Arthur wore on the Murray Franklin show in the first one. And then there's also a cool little detail in the background. I don't think many people noticed it in that scene. When you see, or just before the camera pans round to Arthur on the floor, you see Harvey Dent is on the floor after the explosion, and he's two-faced, or he's gone two-faced, if you know what I mean. You all know what I mean, unless you've never read a comic book or watched a movie. Yeah, I thought that was good. the explosion scene was good, yeah. Joaquin Phoenix, that was another good bit. His performance was probably not as good as the original. That was a superhero film changing performance, I think. But he's still good in this one, certainly. He's some good moments. The laugh isn't as prevalent in this one, but you do get it a few times, and it's always good to hear that again. The creepy little thing, isn't it? My next positive, my final positive before we get on to my negative thoughts, the style and the cinematography. I really thought there was some cool, what would you call it? Just cool shots, I'm just gonna say that. There's some camera work where you see the camera moving around, and it's stuff I really like to see. I always say that that's exactly what I always say. Hang on, I've been talking for too long, haven't I always say that boring cinematography is a boring movie. And this is not a boring movie. I mean, actually, visually, it's not a boring movie. Contents-wise, yeah, it's probably a little bit boring. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the positives. Although I'm not anymore, actually, I'm moving on to the negatives. So let's get to the negatives, because that's the stuff that sells. So now we're in the negatives. I get to complain, which, if you've watched any of my other videos, especially long form, monthly movies, I like a bit of complaining, don't I? My first one that I wrote down is Lady Gaga. That's it. Now, I thought her acting could be a bit cringy at certain moments. Oh, I know, that is me, the cringe meister. See, I make myself cringe. I've said some horrifically cringy things, but I just think there was some awkward line delivery in some of their things together. And not that it has anything to do with her performance, but there was the most awkward sex scene of all time. It was horrendous. It didn't need to be there. It also feels a bit weird, their relationship. Oh, but that I'll get onto it later anyway. My next one would be too much. There was too much prison. We spent too much time in the prison. So the movie's basically split into two halves. You have the first chunk being set in the prison, Arkham Asylum, where Arthur is, and so is Lee, as they call her in this new one. And then the second half is the courtroom stuff, which I much preferred. We do spend far too much time in the prison, I think. There are some good moments, but we didn't need, there's a lot of dead air. It's just some of it felt a bit unnecessary. I feel like this film could have, it's what, I think it's 138 minutes, so 2018 minutes. It's far too long. We could have trimmed out a lot of stuff. And something else I think they could have trimmed out would be the musical sequences. My main problem with them was sort of the way they happened. With a lot of them, especially later on, a lot of them, they just sort of interrupt the film and happen, and then it continues, which makes a recent statement that Lady Gaga said before the film came out about the fact that it's not a musical, we just use music to convey the story. It makes that even more stupid than it was before, because A, using music to convey a story, that's a musical. B, they don't use music to convey the story. It just kind of happens. My dad, who I went to see the film with, he said that it sort of helped convey Arthur's insanity. But they could have just done it like they did in the first film, where there's sort of some bits where you don't know whether what's happening is real or not. Keep the unreliable narrator, keep that vibe. Or the better one, just don't make the movie. We didn't need this. Gives me more content though, so I'm only complaining a little bit. Next up on the list, I wrote down something. Oh, the relationship between Lee, as they call her, and Arthur felt forced. There's nothing natural about it. There's a scene, you see them meet in the trailer, you see she does the which we learn, I'm assuming, she got that from the made-for-TV movie that they did about Arthur. Later on, I don't know how they got that, but I'm going to assume that that's how she did, because apparently she watched it 20 times, but then she later backtracks and says 5. I'm just rambling on now. I do a lot. But yeah, especially in the prison, there were some scenes that just felt random and unnecessary. There's a whole sequence where Lee sets a piano on fire so they can try and escape, and it just didn't need to be there. It's another thing they could have just cut out of the movie. And then eventually, I think when we get to the courtroom bits, she's just not important to the story anymore. She didn't need to be there. In fact, I don't think we needed her in the film. It would have made it a good half an hour shorter, at least, cutting her out. She didn't really need to be there. So yeah, that's what I think about them. My next issue, because you know I have lots of issues with things, is that I think they keep treading on, or retreading, what happened in the original. When they get to the courtroom bits, which again I did quite enjoy. There are just some, when you have his fake girlfriend from the first one and little Gary, when they show up, it just it's sort of Harvey Dent especially, he's so this happens, exactly like that, literally no difference at all. So it's just sort of, it does that. It just sort of goes in a circle motion, which sort of leads me quite well into my next one, Harvey Dent. Him. They just sort of use the name Harvey Dent and then give a little reference to Two-Face at the end. They didn't do anything Harvey Dent with him besides the minimalistic Two-Face reference, which I wasn't a big fan of. I think Two-Face, Harvey Dent, I think it's a great character, great story that they could have done a lot more with, but they've decided not to now, which is certainly a shame. So, I've got one more point to make before you get to leave me. The ending is I'm conflicted. I put it in negatives because I'm more leaning on the side of I don't really like it, but I'm also not entirely sure what I think. So by now you've probably seen it or heard that Arthur dies at the end of the film. There's another inmate at Arkham who we see a few times throughout the film, but he doesn't really seem that important. They do some camera things with him to try and make him seem important, but you never really feel like it's actually going to go anywhere. No, he kills him. He shows up out of absolutely nowhere and kills Arthur. He tells him some joke about a psychopath and an old clown in a bar, and then shanks him to death and starts maniacally laughing and carves Heath Ledger type smile into his face. And that's the end of the movie. I don't know how to feel. My thought was it sort of trying to play into more of the idea of Arthur, also the Joker, is an idea. Arthur's not the Joker. This fella might not be the Joker. Maybe no one's the Joker. It's an idea. That was my only real thought on it. But I came out being more negative on it than anything, unfortunately. So yeah, that about wraps up my thoughts on the film. Did you watch it? If not, why did you watch this video? Did you like it? Did you hate it with every fibre in your body? Hopefully you did. Again, I think it's an okay movie. As I said in my spoiler-free thoughts, I would wait. Don't go out and see it. If you haven't seen it and you've watched this whole video, you know exactly what happens in the film now, so good job. Yeah, that is my thoughts on Joker. Folie à deux. Folie à deux. I think that's it. Yeah. Let me know if you like the video, if you want to see more of these quite long-winded reviews where I ramble on for a bit. I'm gonna gather that you might not. I don't know. I'm just gonna going on a bit now. Right, thank you for sitting through this whole video if you did. Dislike the video if you hated it, leave me a hate comment. Yeah, that's pretty much it. See you in another video. I don't know what the next one will be. There you go.